And Robinhood is very, very good. And here are the reasons for that. So traditionally, if you're going to go to a bank or some other investment firm where you're going to put your money, you do things like 401ks with your job, like a Roth IRA. My bank, for instance, is USAA, and I do a Roth IRA with them. You can only put a certain amount of money in that Roth IRA, and guess what? With a Roth IRA, it's a little bit different from a 401k, but typically you have a very long waiting period before you can take anything out. I know for my Roth IRA, it was a minimum of 7 years. And then for a 401k, you can take out prior to 59 and a half, but you usually pay a penalty unless you pay that money back within a certain period of time. So all that being said, when you're investing in Robinhood, it's far different. You can invest as much or as little in it as you want, and there are no limits to when you can take it out. You can take it out literally the next day if you want. Now, of course, there are a couple regulations where it comes to day trading where you have to keep the money in the account or in the investments of the particular stocks that you're buying or selling for at least, I believe it's 3 days. Don't quote me on that. We'll have to look it up later. But other than that, you can pretty much put in however little or however much money you want into Robinhood, into specific stocks, and take it out whenever you want. Doesn't matter. With a 401k, like I said, you got to leave it in there till you're at least 59 and a half and pay a penalty if you take it out earlier. This is what I call the 40-40 plan. You work 40 hours per week for 40 years of your life so that you can eventually get to the age of 65 and take the little bit of money that you've socked away into your 401k and Roth IRA and try to live off of it for the rest of your life. Now, with human beings living longer and longer, the average life expectancy of a person in the United States is right around 77, 78 years old. Guess what? When you take out at 65, the average person will have around $200,000 saved up. That's a pittance. Because they're following conventional wisdom where you save, 5% of your monthly income and you put it into these traditional investment vehicles. So $200,000, what's that number? Let's say it wouldn't be unreasonable to live until you're 85 and you actually go to retirement at 65. That's $200,000 over the course of 20 years. That's $10,000 a year. Yeah, I don't think you can live off of that. With Robinhood, you don't have to wait on the 40-40 plan. But in addition to that, with Robinhood, you don't pay any trade commissions. Now, this has completely turned the investment community on its head. You have companies like Charles Schwab and TD Ameritrade. Charles Schwab, for instance, you have to pay $5 to buy a stock and $5 to sell a stock. So let's say you're going to buy a $50 stock. Guess what? $5 for buying it, that's 10% of the value of the stock. That's an entire year of gains for that stock that you would traditionally get in the stock market. With Robinhood, you ain't got to spend a cent of that. But this continues, and I'll get into that in just a little bit. But in addition to that, Robinhood is a very lightweight, versatile application or app that you can have on your phone. Now, other companies are following suit. So you got companies like TD Ameritrade, you got companies like Charles Schwab. All of them are creating these lightweight apps for their phones to compete with Robinhood. And in that same vein, in order for me to compete with other YouTubers, hit that like button. And please subscribe. Kind of helps with the YouTube algorithm and gets me on search results and stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it. But all that being said, here's the primary reason I'm talking about Robinhood today. Robinhood now offers fractional share buys. Now this is mind-blowing. And to be honest with you, it kind of goes together with zero commission trades. Fractional share buying wouldn't make sense if you're going to pay $5 for a commission fee to buy a stock and $5 for a commission fee to sell a stock for a $50 stock or whatever the price of that stock is. So if you're going to a Charles Schwab or other companies that charge those similar rates, in order to make that worthwhile, you got to buy in bulk. They expect you to buy $5,000, $10,000 worth of a stock every single time you go to them. You don't have to do that with Robinhood. So zero commission, fractional share stock buys, they go together. And this opens up the door for people of any economic background, anywhere in the world. As long as they've got a Robinhood app and they've got an internet connection, they can buy whatever stock they want. As long as it's on the New York Stock Exchange. So let me put this in a little bit more perspective for you. Let's say that you're buying that $50 stock. I want to make this as crystal clear as I possibly can, okay? You're buying that $50 stock. You got a $5 commission just to buy that stock. And then a $5 commission just to sell it. Now, in order to make that economically feasible for you to do that for a single stock, because you're spending 20% of that stock's value just on commissions, you'd have to leave it in the stock market for a bare minimum of 3 years. Now, for most people, this makes sense. This works out just fine. Because guess what? Most people are just going to sort of set it and forget it. But that's where this comes into play. Dividend reinvestment programs. Robinhood now offers that. So let's say you buy a very high dividend yield stock. I do that myself. Typically, I invest in things like real estate investment trusts because they yield very high dividends. Like if you look at WSR or Whitestone, that's a REIT, and it offers anywhere from 7 to 10% per year on the value of its stock. Now that itself is mind-blowing, but that is in addition to the actual price of the stock as it goes up year over year. Nevertheless, that stock, I can't remember the exact price of it off the top of my head, but let's say it's $15. So $15, 10% of the value of one stock, guess what? That's $1.50. That's not enough to buy an entire stock of it the next year. But you've got $1 that you can reinvest. You can buy a fraction of the stock. Now this is incredible. The power of this, in combination with zero commission and fractional stock buys, it all just makes sense. It goes together. Now initially, when Robinhood first came out, they were really largely ignored by the big firms. Nobody really cared about them. They were new to the scene. They just looked like a little indie company that somehow managed to get through some red tape and regulation and got themselves an app where they could buy and sell stocks for zero commissions. I'm guessing that what was going through the minds of the executives of these big companies was that individuals buying and selling stocks on Robinhood wouldn't have very much money to invest anyway, and it wouldn't be worthwhile for them to pursue that. But that's a side point. The real point of this is that once Robinhood got a valuation of like right around $7.6 billion, that's when they really started paying attention. I can't emphasize this enough. Zero commission, fractional share buying and selling is where Robinhood will shine. And this, as Graham Stephan said it, race to the bottom is going to make it so that everybody wins. The companies are getting more people to be able to buy their product, and more people can buy their product and get into it. It helps everybody. You gotta love free market and competition. Now there are some caveats to this. In order to buy fractional shares of a stock, 2 stipulations must be met. The first one being that an individual stock must cost more than $1. And the second one being that the market capitalization rate of that stock that you're trying to buy has at least $25 million of valuation. Now what this means, in order to discern what the market capitalization of a stock is you multiply the price of an individual stock by the total number of those stocks in circulation. That gives you the market capitalization of that stock and that company. But these 2 stipulations are met by like 99% of all companies on the New York Stock Exchange that you can trade. So it's really not going to be a big deal. And even if the company doesn't meet that and you're trying to trade it, Robinhood will tell you straight up, this company does not meet this regulation, therefore you can't buy fractional shares of it. Now, if this is all clear as mud to you, I totally get it. And don't worry, we're going to take this slow. So let me paint a picture for you with a scenario. Let's say, like in a previous video that I posted on this channel a while ago, that you make $50,000 per year. You invest 5% of your monthly income, yearly income as well, obviously, into a 401k. Now what that comes down to is it's going to be right around $200 to $300 a month. Now in addition to that, let's say that you actually are following the budgetary steps that I provided you in that previous video, and you're saving anywhere from $1,700 to $2,300 a month. So now, let's say you put $200 to $300 per month into Robinhood, literally just transferring it from your bank account into the Robinhood application, and there you go. It's in your money account, and now you can trade whatever you want. It's available for you. Let's say you invest in WSR, or Whitestone REIT, the real estate investment trust that I told you about just a second ago. So if you're putting $200 to $300 a month, let's just go ahead and split the difference and say it's $250 a month. That'll be $3,000 that you've invested in that one specific stock by the end of the year. At 9.3% return via dividend, that's $279 that you're going to get back, of which you're going to reinvest. So that'll get you at the current price, I was looking it up just a second ago, it's $13.24, just a hair over 21 shares. So you keep doing this. The next year, you do the exact same thing. Now, you've got $305 that grew in addition to what you already had, because you had an initial principal of $3,279, and that grew you another $305. Reinvest, rinse, repeat. It's that simple. All right, now get this. This is just one stock that you can invest on Robinhood. But let's take this all the way out to 40 years. And mind you, none of the traditional restrictions that you get on a 401k, a Roth IRA, a 457B, or what other traditional investment vehicle you have apply here. They don't. But let's say after 40 years of doing this, you look at your account. Guess what's in there from this one stock? $1.6 million. Million with an M. No fees, no accounts, no commissions, nothing. And like I said 1,000 times, you can take it out whenever you want. Now I want to emphasize this point here. I have a good friend who is 57 years old. He's part of one of the clubs I go to. I like to run. It's one of the things I do. And he was being financially savvy and trying to do the right thing based upon traditional common wisdom. So he was maxing out his 401k for about 40 years. 20, or what was it, 35-ish? Because he started pretty much right when he could, when he got his job and all that fun stuff, okay? So after he told me the details of what he was putting in, and I'm good with math, I know how to run compound interest calculators, I've actually built some myself. I was running it through my calculators, and some other calculators online that do the same thing. And he should have had about $10 million in that account. He's 57 years old. You know what he told me? He had $3.5 million. Now, don't get me wrong. That's a lot of money. That is. But due to commission fees, account management fees, and all this other stuff, the firm through which he was investing did white-collar highway robbery on him. They got $6.5 million out of him. That was his blood, sweat, and tears. He should have had $10 million by the time we were talking, and had 11 or 12 by the time he was actually going to retire, which I think he's going to retire traditionally, like around 62 to 65. This is tragic to me. He deserved better than that. He was doing what was smart. He was maxing out his 401k. He was doing everything right. And because of commission fees, only got 30% of what he put in. So keep that in mind. Now, we went over a lot today, but thank you guys for watching, and just remember this. Small bites at a time is the key to success. And with that, here is your self-improvement homework for today. A small incremental step that you can take in order to become exponentially better. If you haven't done it already, get on your phone, download the Robinhood app, and set up an account. But here's something even better that you can do if you're really savvy. Go get somebody to refer you. Because guess what? If they refer you, there's a link in the description. You get a free stock, and so do they. Bye.